video, we're going to go over the basics of building a form. The first thing you'll do is log into your account. From the main screen, you're going to click Build Forms. Here, you'll see a blank gray box in the middle and the toolbar to the left. These are the tools that you will use to build your form within this box in the center. We also have some options up here. File, Open. This allows you to open forms, whether they're draft or published. You can also filter this by only drafts or only published forms, or you can search using a keyword to find a specific form if you have several to scroll through. Then you can open it. We also have Open Special. This is where you can open a published form and make minor changes. You cannot add or delete fields to a published form. You can only change certain aspects, such as the caption text, answers to choose ones and select multiples, though you cannot choose the underlying value, and some other minor changes. For anything adding new fields, you'll use File Open. You'll open the published version, and then you'll make the change and publish it as a new form with a new form name. We also have templates that you can add into your account from our library of industry standards. We have Insert, where you can insert an existing form into another form. So for example, if we wanted to add asset tracking into the auto expense travel report, we would open one, then use the Insert tab to insert another form below this one. So we use Insert and then choose Asset Tracking. Then here at the top we have the first form. Then we have the second form, which starts here with this question. We have the preview mode, which if you have errors will display an error, and if you don't, it will just pull up. I'm going to hit preview anyways, just to show you an example, and it will show you a basic look of how the form looks on the mobile device. You can then save that as a new form by going to draft or published. Using the new feature will clear the screen so that you can start fresh from scratch. If you save a form as a draft, you will be able to go in and edit, add fields, delete fields, do anything you'd like. Once it's published, that's when you'll have to add new fields and publish with a new name, or make limited changes using the Open Special. So the toolbar on the left are separated by actions, containers, inputs, and media. Actions have these tools here, which are action buttons, which allow you to launch third-party programs, automatically save and send forms, things of that nature. The auto number, which generates a unique 16-digit number based on the date and the time. We have a barcode scanner feature. We have calculations, which can calculate the totals of numeric fields, text fields, and date and time fields. We have an email tool, which allows you to email a copy of a PDF or Excel report to a specific recipient. We also have the forward feature, which allows you to send a form from one mobile user to another mobile user. We also have an NFC tool, which can be used to scan an NFC. We have a payment option, as we are partners with Flint Mobile, and you can sign up for an account through Flint and then link your account to your doForms. That way you can accept payments directly within doForms. We also have a score summary and score questions. The score summary is the summary of all of your score questions in one brief summary: how many were answered correctly, incorrectly, certain ways, etc., depending on how you set up your score questions. We also have the Trends tool, which will show you the trend of the answers of a specific field over the course of 20 days. Then we have containers. These are containers that hold other question types. So we have a button grid, which is used for action buttons. We have a layout grid, which is used for regular tools such as text, choose ones, things like that. We have a page widget, which just gives a page break within the form. A questionnaire, which is used to display choose ones or select multiples in a specific format. We also have a repeatable, which allows you to repeat anything that's within that repeating container up to 20 times. We also have a table, which allows you to enter, of course, choose ones, text boxes, etc. Under input, we have choose one, we have a counter, which allows you to tap an up and down arrow to add or subtract. We have a data lookup, which you can use to associate Excel files to the data lookup tool and give the user a list of existing information, such as customer names, addresses, parts, things of that nature. We have the date and time tool, which allows you to capture the date, the time, or the date and time. We also have a GPS location, so this will capture the coordinates of their current location when they use that tool. We have the numeric box, which does decimal or integer numbers, and you can also assign monetary symbols to it. We have score by category. These are the score questions where you can build a scoring system and use the score summary to generate the totals of those questions. We have select multiple, which obviously allows you to choose more than one answer. We have a signature box. Using the signature, the mobile user can use their finger or stylus on the screen to sign their name. We also have a text box, which allows letters, numbers, special characters, etc. And then we have media. You can capture audio clips. You can capture images. You can draw a sketch. You can also record videos. A label allows you to upload an image up to 1 megabyte in size here by clicking upload and then choosing the file source from your computer. And then you can also use it as a header of types by using work order and hit preview. And it's a label. It shows a bracket at the top and bottom. Kind of calls attention to it. And each tool has options here on the right. So I'm going to build a basic form to show you the basic features and the options of those features. So the first one is I'm going to place a label, and I'm going to upload an image from my computer of the doForms logo. Then you'll see it gives you an image, and if you hit preview, it will show you the image. If it's too large, you can, of course, resize that image on your computer and then just re-upload from here. And I'm going to add another label and call this a work order. The preview button, of course, comes very in handy so that you can see what it looks like as you're building. Then we can use a text box to have name and add another one to do last name. And as you see, it has the field here, name, and then they would key in their name, etc. Now, here, for the label tools, when you drop a tool in, you'll know if you're on that specific tool because it will light up as green and the other ones are gray. So when you're in this tool, you'll have options here to the right. Each tool may vary in some of the options, but for the most part, they do have the exact same options. For this one, you can choose to justify it, left, right, or centered. So if I wanted to change the picture from the left or the right, or leave it centered, I can do that. I can also choose to hide this in the mobile app. If I do that, and I hit preview, then the mobile user will not see that field. You can also choose to hide it in View Data in the Dispatch tab, so that when you're viewing the data or you're dispatching a form to a specific user, it does not display that field. You can also choose to hide it in the PDF and print mode. Appearance, use defaults or custom. This allows you to control the colors of the text or the bracket around it. So if I choose custom and I choose label shading, I can choose lines. I can choose to have it shaded instead, or no lines or shading. If I do that and I hit preview, you see it's just work order. The lines are gone now. There's no border, there's no shading. But if we change this to shaded and hit preview, we have a white background on a black text. But we can change those colors here, shaded color, text color. So if we change this to, let's just pick gray and hit preview, then the shaded area will be gray and the text is black. Now you can set the basic defaults by using settings, form appearance. And you can choose shaded headings, the heading color, the text color. You can choose border around the headings. You can choose if rows are shaded or not shaded. You can choose the button shades and text color. And you can choose the label shade. Now these options here will set the entire form that way. If you don't want a certain field that way, but you want the rest of them set up with those basic color schemes, you can choose the tool specifically, and instead of using defaults, just choose custom. So you can add colors, you can change the text color, shaded, borders, all of those appearance settings. We also have remove space above and below. So what this does is, if we hit preview, you'll see name and last name. There's a space between these two boxes. So if we click on name and choose remove space below on this one and remove space above on this one and hit preview, it's gone. And now it looks like it's just one entire box. So you can design it to make it look like it's a grid when it's really not a grid, things like that. So again, there's different options for some of the tools. So under the text tool, we do have default value, which means that you can enter something in here, and when they pull up the form, that value will be displayed by default, but you can change it. We have read only in mobile app and when dispatching. This means that the question cannot be edited. It can only be viewed in red. You can also make this field required, meaning the form cannot be submitted until that field is filled in. If you choose when dispatching, then the form cannot be dispatched to the specific user until that field has been filled in. We all have the hide options in this question as well. Same options. We also have actions. Only display this question if. What this does, if you check it, is it will only display this question if a certain condition is met. So instead of this one, let's choose last name. So we'll choose only display this question if the field name you'll choose here, so we're going to choose name, is equal or constant to, and because it's a text box, you can enter in a specific name or value, or we can change equal to not equal to blank. So if this question changes from blank to having something in it, then this one will display. I'll hit preview and show you how that works. So as you see, last name is hidden, but if I enter in text and then click outside of that, the next field populates. You can do this on most questions. It doesn't have to be on a text box. You can use a relevance to choose one. If a specific selection is chosen, select multiples. So you do have the option to choose some of the fields here that are available, as well as the answer, whether it's equal or not equal, whether it's constant or whether it's another question. So basically what that does is it just hides it in the background until the condition is met. We also have jump to. This is called skip logic. So from here, you would choose where you want the destination question to send you if the answer is equal or not equal to the following. What this does is if there's several questions after this one that may or may not apply, you can set a skip logic so that if this answer equals no, you can skip down 5 questions and go to the next question that's relevant in order. And that's called skip logic. Most of these tools have the same options, but we're going to use a numeric tool, and we're going to put employee number. Here, we'll see integer and decimal. We're going to leave this as integer. We'll hit preview. And then we see here, we can enter in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you cannot put in decimals because it's an integer field. If we change this to decimal, we can then enter decimal numbers in that field, 0.5, etc., 1.5, etc. We can also use currency symbols. So if this is going to be a monetary value, such as price, we'll choose currency symbol and then select the currency symbol and hit preview. Now we'll enter in 200, click out of the field, it automatically places the decimal point and adds the numeric value. It has some of the same options. You can customize or use defaults for the appearance, remove space above or below, read only and required, as well as hide, and the relevance and skip actions. Most of this building a form is just preference, and using the preview tool is very helpful to show you what it's going to look like on the device so that you know what your users are going to see as they're filling it in. All of these tools, again, have some of the same features here. For a choose one, this allows you to choose one answer from a list. So here, under answers, we would add one, yes. And if we want another one, we'll click add answer, no. And you can add as many or as few as you want. You can also choose if it's defaulted to one of those answers. You can choose to display them down, across, or as a simple drop down. So this is what it looks like if it displays down, like this. If we choose to display it across, here, we see it like this. And if we choose to show it as a simple drop down, then we see it like this. So it does have several options you can choose from. Again, it's all preference. And then again, we have the remove space, read only required, and relevance and skip logic. Now, using a grid or a table, I'll show you those containers. So if we want a table with, say, a quantity, a description, and say we want the price inside the table. And we want it to calculate based on the quantity and price. We'll add a calculation in there and call it total. Now here on the actual table options, it is not required to give the table a name, but you can. And you can choose the number of rows that display. By default it's 5, but you can change this up to 20. And then you can choose to use a checklist or fit to screen width. You can also choose if it's equally spaced columns, adjust caption length, or adjust column width. So equally spaced columns, just to show you what this looks like. With the calculation, we'll choose decimal of 2, use currency symbol. We want it to do quantity, add expression, times price. Now when we hit preview, oh, forgot to choose the currency symbol. Okay. Now when we hit preview, we see the table here. And you see they're all pretty evenly spaced. So evenly spaced columns, that's what that does. So if we enter in 2 and just say parts and put $25, then you see it does the math automatically. Quantity times price equals the total. And it's got 5 columns. Now if we wanted these columns to be smaller, because obviously 2, the quantity, should be small numbers, we can, on the table options, use caption length, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. Then it uses the length of the caption to dictate the size of the columns. Or you can use adjusted column width and choose how much space each one gets. Now the total is 100. So say we want quantity to be 10, we'll enter 10, then the straight bracket, and it does show you an example here of how it should look. Then the description, I want 60. And the price, I want 10. And then the total, I want 20. So you have to make sure that all these numbers equals up to 100. If it doesn't, it will give you an error. Then we'll hit preview. And there you see, this is given 10%, this is given 60, 10%, and 20. Again, it's preference, choosing what it looks like when you build it. And that's how you can do the sizing for the columns in a table. It works the same in a grid. So if we choose a grid here, you can do the same thing. You can choose equally spaced columns, use caption length, or adjust column width. Same thing, you use the numbers in the straight line. With a grid, you can use freeform, which is using a label and then a field. So for example, we'll do name, but this is not actually the name field, it's just a label. And then we'll add a text box and put name. And then we'll hit preview. Then you'll see here, it's got name to the left, and then the field where you can enter the name to the right. This is the label. This is the field where you enter the data. Here, it is number of columns. So if we change that to 1 and hit preview, then instead of having name to the left and the actual field to the right, you have name above and then the text below. So this just dictates the column numbers. So each field placed within is a column number. Now if we choose caption row based, we don't need the labels. We can just enter in fields. So name 2, last name, and we'll hit preview. And here you see it's got name with the label or the space for name, last name, and the space for last name. And instead of these being labels, this is just using it as row based. Now if we choose column-based and hit preview, it does give us an error. So if you're using columns, it does have to be an even number. And then you see here, we've got 1, 2, 1, 2. Same thing. These aren't labels. These are the actual text fields, but it separates it as if it's a label. So you can choose to freeform it, use caption row-based or caption column-based. The repeatable section will simply repeat anything that's placed within it. So we'll just name this test. And then we'll put a name field, a last name field, and we're going to choose to let it repeat 2 times by choosing the max repeat number here in the settings. Then we're going to hit preview. And then here, test 1, in the parentheses 1, this means this is the first of 2 in the repeatable. So we'll just enter a name here. And then when we click out of there, then this one becomes able to add a second one if needed. If we click that, then it produces a second one, identical to whatever you put in that field. So first name, last name, etc. Any fields within there display identical to the way you build it here within the repeatable. So as you see, it's really just preference and how you want your forms to look, the color schemes, whether you want to use tables or grids, freeform text, things like that. And again, every tool has some slightly different options. Action button lets you do several things. You can set the action button text. So if we just did send, you see it'll show up as send. You can justify that left or right, centered. You can also choose what it does here. It does different things. Jump to question, so you can click that and jump to a specific question within your form somewhere. Jump to a specific page if you have page breaks in there. You can play a video. If you choose that, you just need to provide the URL of the video. Same with opening a web page. You just need the URL. Launch program. Here you can choose to launch an app, a third-party app outside of doForms if you have the app name or the iOS URL scheme if you are using iOS. You enter those in there, and then when they click the action button, it launches that program for them. You can also send status to dispatch. This is for dispatch accounts. So once the form is dispatched to you, if you have this action button there, you could choose what the text is. So if they're halfway through the form and you have that button and they hit it, it'll say 50%. You'll see that message under the dispatch tab that they're 50% of the way through the form. Just kind of gives you a status update. We also have launch Google Maps. So you can choose the input type, address, or latitude, longitude, and the input source. So lookup widget, text widget, or location widget. And it will launch Google Maps and pull that information, place it in Google Maps for you, and you'll see a map. You can also choose to save and send. So it will save the form and then send it to the web portal. Save, send, and reload form. So it'll save it, send it, and then open a blank fresh form. Save, send, and load selected form. So if this is one of 3 forms, you can have this one save and send, and then the second one by default load up instead. You can also save and exit without sending. So it'll save it and just close down the app without sending. Or close form without saving or sending. So you start it, job gets canceled, you don't need to do it. You can just close the form without saving or sending. And again, it's just really preference, like what tools you want. You can also see the eyes up here. This means there's help information available. So for example, if you had a question on auto number, if you click help, Here, it'll give you a list of all the help menus. So if you want to see actions or containers or input, so we'll do auto number. It'll give you the information about that, the properties of each field within there, what you can do with it, what is supported as far as HTML tags, and really how you use the tool. So that is very helpful. If you come across anything you're not sure what it does or how to use it, you can check the help button here and read the documentation. And that is the basics of form building. Thank you for your time.